When the galaxy ran, only humans stayed and fought Part 1. The alarm blared through Argus Station, its piercing sound jerking Captain Eric Powell awake from his brief nap. He rubbed his eyes and checked the time. Whoa, 300 hours. No one called drills at this hour. This was real. Captain Powell to Command Center. Urgent, the station AI announced, its voice calm despite the wailing alarm. Eric pulled on his uniform jacket and rushed through the curved hallways of the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Argus sat at the edge of the solar system, humanity's most distant outpost and their first line of defense. Or at least that had been the idea when they built it. In 20 years of service, nothing truly dangerous had ever appeared on their sensors. Until now. The command center doors slid open. Inside, 6 officers hunched over their stations, faces lit by the blue glow of their screens. Dr. Amanda Walsh stood in the center, her normally neat brown hair a mess, as if she'd been running her hands through it for hours. "Powell, thank God," she said. "You need to see this." Amanda led him to the main display. A cluster of objects appeared at the far edge of their sensor range, moving in perfect formation. "What am I looking at?" Eric asked. "We first detected them 3 hours ago," Amanda said. "They're ships, Eric. At least 30 of them, and they're not ours." Eric stared at the screen. In 2157, humanity had spread throughout the solar system, colonies on Mars and Europa, mining operations on Mercury and Titan. But they had never encountered another intelligent species. Most scientists believed they were alone in the galaxy. "Are you sure?" Eric asked. "Could it be an equipment malfunction?" Lieutenant Keith Bennett looked up from his console. "We've triple-checked everything, sir. Those are artificial objects moving against orbital patterns. They're powered vessels." Eric took a deep breath. "Has Earth been notified?" "Yes, sir," Keith said. "We sent the alert through the quantum channel. They're awaiting your assessment." "Put us at full alert," Eric ordered. "And get me a direct line to General Rodriguez at Lunar Command, the room." Burst into activity. Eric turned back to the screen, watching the formation of ships slowly approaching. "They're decelerating," Amanda said quietly beside him. "They know we're here." "Are they hostile?" Eric asked. "If they were, I think we'd already know it," she replied. "Their technology must be centuries beyond ours. They could have destroyed us without us ever seeing them coming." 12 tense hours passed. The alien ships continued their approach, now clearly visible on their high-powered telescopes. They were unlike any vessels humans had designed, smooth, almost organic in appearance with no visible engines or weapons. "Captain," called communications specialist Sophia Diaz. "We're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all our frequencies simultaneously." "Put it through," Eric ordered. At first there was only static. Then, to everyone's shock, a voice spoke in perfect English. "Attention, human outpost. This is Ambassador Vexithal of the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace and urgency. Please respond." Eric exchanged glances with Amanda before stepping forward. "This is Captain Eric Powell of Earth's Argus Station. We receive you, Ambassador." "Captain Powell," the voice replied. "We request immediate audience with your world leaders. We bring warning of grave danger approaching your solar system." Within 6 hours, the UN Security Council had convened an emergency session. Eric and Amanda were ordered to return to Earth immediately. They boarded their fastest shuttle, leaving Argus Station under Lieutenant Bennett's command. The journey to Earth took 3 days. As they approached the blue planet, Eric saw something that made his heart race. One of the alien vessels was now in orbit around Earth, dwarfing even the largest human space stations. Their shuttle was escorted directly to the United Nations headquarters in New York. The building was surrounded by military vehicles and nervous crowds. News of the alien arrival had spread worldwide, causing both celebration and panic. Inside the main chamber, Eric and Amanda joined President Olivia Martinez and the Security Council. At the center of the room stood a being unlike anything Eric had ever seen. Ambassador Vexthal resembled a tall, slender humanoid, but with iridescent blue skin and 4 arms. Its face featured large, pupilless eyes and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the sound seemed to come from the air around it. "We thank you for receiving us," Vexthal said. "Our confederation includes 17 sentient species across 800 star systems. We have existed in peace for over 10,000 of your Earth years." President Martinez, a stern woman with graying hair, stepped forward. "We welcome you to Earth, Ambassador, but you mentioned a grave danger. What threatens us?" Vexthal raised its upper arms, and a holographic display appeared. In the center of the room, it showed what looked like a massive cloud moving through space, consuming everything in its path. "We call it the Devourer," Vexthal said. "It is a collective organism, part biological, part technological. It consumes all organic matter to fuel its expansion. It has destroyed 342 inhabited worlds that we know of." The room fell silent as the hologram showed entire planets being enveloped by the dark mass. "And this Devourer is coming here?" General Rodriguez asked. "Yes," Vexthal replied. "Based on its current trajectory, it will reach your solar system in approximately 6 of your months." "How do we fight it?" Eric asked. The alien turned its large eyes toward him. "You cannot fight it, Captain Powell. No one can. The Confederation's protocol is evacuation of threatened systems." "You run?" Amanda asked, unable to hide her surprise. "We survive," Vexthal corrected. "The Devourer cannot be defeated with our current technology. We have tried. Many brave souls have died proving this truth." President Martinez stepped forward. "Surely, with your advanced technology and our combined forces, we could mount some kind of defense?" "The Confederation will not risk further ships, or lives in direct confrontation," Vexthal stated firmly. "But we can offer evacuation assistance. We can transport 10 million of your people to safety before the Devourer arrives." 10 million? President Martinez's voice rose. "Earth has 11 billion people. We understand your distress," Vexthal said. "But these are the resources we can spare. The evacuation must begin immediately." As arguments erupted among the human leaders, Eric caught Amanda's eye. Something didn't add up. A civilization advanced enough to cross the stars, with 17 species and hundreds of worlds, was running instead of fighting. Later that night, in a secure room beneath the UN building, Eric, Amanda, and a small team, including Lieutenant Ryan Foster and Sofia Diaz, reviewed the information provided by the Confederation. "They're hiding something," Eric said. "A civilization that advanced should have weapons capable of fighting this thing." "Maybe they tried and failed," Ryan suggested. "Or maybe they have another agenda," Amanda said quietly. "We need to know more about this Devourer and about the Confederation itself before we agree to any evacuation." As dawn broke over New York, humanity faced its greatest challenge. Unknown to them, their decision to question rather than immediately accept the Confederation's offer would set them on a path no other species had dared to take, a path that would change the galaxy forever. When the galaxy ran, only humans stayed, and fought Part 2 panic spread across Earth like wildfire. The news of the Devourer and the Confederation's offer to save only 10 million people leaked to the public within hours. Riots broke out in major cities. Religious groups declared the end times had come. Military forces worldwide were placed on high alert, though no one knew what good Earth's weapons would do against something that devoured entire planets. President Martinez addressed the United Nations again, her face drawn with exhaustion. "We need time to consider the Confederation's offer. We cannot simply abandon billions to die." Ambassador Vexthal stood unmoved. "You have 3 months to select your 10 million. After that, we must depart to ensure our own safety. The Devourer waits for no one." While world leaders argued over who would be saved, Captain Eric Powell, Dr. Amanda Walsh, Lieutenant Ryan Foster, and Sofia Diaz worked in secret. The Confederation had provided them limited access to their ship's database for cultural exchange, and Sofia, with her gift for languages and patterns, had found a way to access restricted files. "I don't think they expected us to be able to decode their security protocols," Sofia said as they gathered in a secure room beneath the UN building. They underestimate human ingenuity. What have you found? Eric asked. Sophia projected images from her tablet onto the wall. These are historical records of the Devourer's attacks going back over 700 years. Amanda studied the data. 700 years? But Vexithal said the Confederation has existed for 10,000 years. Why didn't they stop this thing centuries ago when it was smaller? That's not all, Ryan added. Look at the attack patterns. He pointed to various star systems on the map. The Devourer consistently moves toward populated worlds but avoids the Confederation's core systems. It's like it's being directed or appeased, Eric said quietly. What if the Confederation has been sacrificing outer worlds to keep their core safe? The room fell silent as they considered the terrible possibility. We need proof before we take this to President Martinez, Amanda said. Otherwise, we'll sound like conspiracy theorists. They continued digging through the files. Hours later, Ryan found what they needed. Look at this, he said, displaying an encrypted communication between Confederation leaders from 300 years earlier. Sophia translated. The sacrifice of the Teleran homeworld has diverted the Devourer from approaching the Centauri systems. The evacuation protocol was executed as planned, with minimal resistance after their leadership was informed of the consequences of non-compliance. My God, Eric whispered. They've been doing this for centuries, sacrificing expendable worlds to protect their core systems. The next day, they confronted Vexthal in a private meeting. The aliens' large eyes showed no emotion as Eric presented their findings. Yes, Vexthal admitted after a long pause. What you have discovered is true. The Confederation has practiced controlled sacrifice for the greater good. Greater good? Amanda's voice rose. You've been feeding entire civilizations to this monster. You do not understand the scale of this threat, Vexthal said. The Devourer cannot be defeated. We tried in our early encounters. We lost entire fleets, billions of lives. We found that it responds to patterns. Offering it less defended worlds keeps it away from our core systems where trillions live. So you decided who lives and who dies, Eric said, disgust evident in his voice. We survive, Vexthal replied. As your people can too, if you select your 10 million wisely. Your best scientists, artists, leaders, Earth's legacy can continue. Ryan stepped forward. And the rest? The billions left behind? We'll feed the Devourer and buy the rest of the galaxy more time, Vexthal stated simply. This is the reality we all face. When they brought this information to President Martinez, she was silent for a long time. Then she ordered the Confederation, representatives confined to their quarters, and called an emergency meeting of Earth's most powerful nations. Inside the UN chamber, screens showed streets filled with desperate people fighting for spots on what they believed would be evacuation ships. The lottery systems various countries had implemented were breaking down. Trust in government was collapsing worldwide. We cannot accept the Confederation's offer, President Martinez said to the assembled leaders. Not under these conditions, not knowing what we now know. But we cannot fight this Devourer either, said the Chinese premier. If the Confederation with all its advanced technology cannot defeat it, what chance do we have? Amanda stepped forward. Maybe that's because they never really tried, she said. She displayed her analysis of the Devourer's attack patterns. Look here. It consistently avoids direct confrontation. It preys on abandoned or lightly defended worlds. When faced with strong resistance in these 3 instances, it actually changed course. You think it's vulnerable? President Martinez asked. I think it's never faced an enemy that truly stood its ground, Amanda replied. The Confederation's strategy of appeasement has allowed it to grow stronger with each world it consumes. Eric joined her. We analyzed their weapons technology too. They have quantum disruptors that could potentially break down the neural connections that seem to hold the Devourer together, but they've never deployed them in a coordinated attack. The room buzzed with conversation, hope mixed with fear. Even if we decide to fight, the Russian president said, we cannot match the Confederation's technology. Actually, Sophia said, stepping forward with her tablet. I found something else in their database. Complete technical specifications for their defensive systems. With our manufacturing capabilities, we could adapt some of these designs within months. President Martinez looked around the room at the other world leaders. We have a choice to make. We can select 10 million people to survive, accepting that billions will die, or we can stand and fight together as one planet. The Japanese Prime Minister spoke first. My country knows what it means to face impossible odds. We vote to fight. One by one, the other leaders joined, though fear was evident on every face. When they informed Vexithal of their decision, the alien seemed genuinely confused. This is not rational, it said. You sacrifice your best chance for survival. No, President Martinez replied. We refuse to sacrifice anyone. That's the difference between us. Then you will all die, Vexithal stated. Maybe, Eric said. But we'll die on our feet, not running. The Confederation ships prepared to leave Earth orbit. To everyone's surprise, when offered the chance to evacuate, only a few million humans chose to go. The vast majority decided to stay and fight for their home. As the alien ships disappeared into the darkness of space, humanity began its preparations for war. For the first time in history, all nations worked together with a single purpose: survival. Eric looked at Amanda as they watched the ships leave. Do you think we made the right choice? She nodded slowly. I don't know if we'll win, but I know. Running and sacrificing billions wasn't the answer. Then we better get to work, Eric said. We have a planet to defend. When the galaxy ran, only humans stayed and fought part. 3 days after the Confederation ships departed, President Martinez promoted Eric Powell to Admiral and gave him command of Earth's unified defense forces. It was the first time in human history that all nations combined their military might under one leader. I'm a space station captain, not a war general, Eric protested in the Oval Office. You're the only one who's seen their technology up close and understands what we're facing, President Martinez replied. Her eyes were tired but determined. The people need someone who believes we can win. Do you believe that? Eric asked quietly. She looked out the window at Washington, D.C., where workers were already building underground shelters. I have to. We all do. Across the globe, factories switched from making cars and computers to producing weapons and spacecraft. Schools became training centers. Farmers planted fast-growing crops to build food reserves. Every resource on Earth focused on one goal: survival. At the heart of the preparations was Dr. Amanda Walsh. She worked with scientists from around the world in a massive underground laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. They called it the Hive, humanity's answer to the Devourer's hive mind. Amanda barely slept. When she did, she dreamed of billions of people depending on her work. She studied the Confederation data on the Devourer, looking for weaknesses. The neural network is its strength and its vulnerability, she explained to Admiral Powell during his weekly visit to the Hive. She showed him simulations on large screens. The Devourer is made up of millions of smaller units. They communicate through quantum entanglement, like brain cells in a massive organism. Can we disrupt that communication? Eric asked. Amanda nodded. Based on the Confederation designs, we've developed these. She held up a small cylinder that glowed with blue light. Quantum disruptors. They create a field that breaks the entanglement temporarily. How many do we have? Not enough, she admitted. And they only work at short range. We'd need thousands of ships to get close enough to make a difference. Eric frowned. We have hundreds, not thousands. Then we need a better plan. That night, Eric gathered his top officers in the war room beneath the Pentagon. Lieutenant Ryan Foster, now head of tactical operations, displayed a holographic map of the solar system. We believe the Devourer will approach from this vector, Ryan said, pointing to a red line cutting across the map. It will likely target our outer colonies. First, Titan, Ganymede, Europa. Those colonies have been evacuated, Eric said. We brought everyone back to Earth or Mars, which the Devourer doesn't know, Ryan continued. What if we use them as bait? Make the Devourer think they're easy targets? Sophia Diaz, recently appointed head of communications intelligence, nodded in agreement. We could place automated defenses around those moons while hiding our main fleet behind the sun and in Jupiter's shadow. A trap, Eric said thoughtfully. It could work. The Confederation data suggests the Devourer avoids direct confrontation when possible. There's more, Sophia added. She pulled up files on her tablet. I've been decoding more of the Confederation archives. 300 years ago, a species called the Ardani actually damaged the Devourer before being overwhelmed. What happened to them? Ryan asked. Extinct now, Sophia said grimly. But they used weapons that targeted specific frequencies in the Devourer's neural network. Their designs are in the archives. Eric stood up. Send everything to Dr. Walsh. Immediately. This could be the breakthrough we need. Meanwhile, in deep space beyond Neptune, Lieutenant Ryan Foster led a small team on a dangerous mission. They piloted stealth ships to place sensor beacons along the Devourer's projected path. The work was slow and dangerous, with each ship carrying only enough fuel for a one-way trip. Automated drones would retrieve them once their work was done. Ryan's hands were steady as he positioned the last beacon. Beacon 37 in position, he reported to Earth, activating silent mode. Good work, Lieutenant, came Eric's voice through the comm system. Your team just bought us an extra 3 weeks of warning time. As the recovery drones approached, Ryan looked out at the vast darkness of space. Somewhere out there, the Devourer was coming. He wondered if the human who placed this beacon would be alive when the Devourer triggered it. Back on Earth, unexpected news arrived. A Confederation transport ship entered orbit, its hull damaged and systems failing. When Earth forces boarded it, they found 300 humans, part of the small group that had chosen evacuation. Their leader was Gabriel Martinez, the president's brother, and an engineer who had worked on the Europa colony. They lied to us, Gabriel told his sister in a private meeting. His face was thin and he had a healing cut across his forehead. The Confederation isn't taking us to safety. They're delivering us to the Devourer as a peace offering. President Martinez's hands shook as she poured coffee. What are you saying? We were halfway to their designated sanctuary world when we discovered the truth, Gabriel explained. One of our people hacked into their navigation system. Our course would have intercepted with the Devourer's path in exactly 2 months. How did you escape? We fought, Gabriel said simply, took control of the ship and turned around. 3. Other transport ships tried to follow us, but the Confederation vessels destroyed them. We barely made it back. The president called an emergency meeting with Admiral Powell and his team. Gabriel repeated his story, adding details about the Confederation ships he had seen from the inside. Their technology is advanced, but not as much as they led us to believe, he told them. Their weapons have limitations. Their shields can be overloaded. Dr. Walsh leaned forward. Did you see anything about their quantum disruptors? Better, Gabriel said. I stole the plans for their latest version. He pulled a small data crystal from his pocket. And I know how to build them with Earth materials. For the first time, in weeks, Eric saw real hope in Amanda's eyes. Over the next month, Earth's preparations accelerated. With Gabriel's knowledge, they improved their weapons and defenses. The stealth beacons reported the Devourer's steady approach toward the solar system. It would reach Pluto in 3 weeks. Eric stood on the observation deck of the Space Command station looking down at Earth. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land, home to 11 billion people. All other concerns had fallen away. Nations that had been enemies for centuries now worked side by side. Humanity had united as never before. Amanda joined him, standing close in the dim light. The first wave of ships is ready, she said. 200 vessels equipped with the new disruptors. Not enough, Eric said. It's all we have. Eric nodded slowly. Then it will have to be enough. He turned to face her. In 3 days, I'm leading the fleet to the outer system. We'll set the trap at Titan. I'm coming with you, Amanda said firmly. The disruptors might need adjustments once we see how the Devourer reacts. Eric wanted to argue but knew she was right. Then we go together. They looked back at Earth, so beautiful against the blackness of space, so fragile, so worth fighting for. 3 days, Eric repeated quietly. Then we meet. The monster. When the galaxy ran, only humans stayed and fought Part 4. The first alert came from Beacon 7, positioned at the edge of the solar system. The Devourer had arrived. On the bridge of the flagship Liberty, Admiral Eric Powell watched the main screen as the sensor data came in. The Devourer was even larger than the Confederation data had suggested. A massive cloud of biomechanical units spanning thousands of kilometers, moving as one organism toward the heart of the solar system. My God, whispered Ryan Foster beside him. It's like a storm made of machines. And flesh, Dr. Amanda Walsh added grimly. The biological matter of every world it's consumed. Eric turned to his communications officer. Send word to Earth. It's here. The bridge fell silent. For most of human history, people had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they faced an entity that had devoured hundreds of alien civilizations. All ships maintain position, Eric ordered. Remember the plan. Stay hidden until it reaches the trap point at Titan. Earth's defensive fleet was spread throughout the solar system, concealed behind planets and moons, powered down to minimal detection levels. Only automated systems remained active on Titan and Ganymede, creating the illusion of functioning colonies. For 3 days, they watched as the Devourer moved methodically through the outer solar system. It paused near Pluto, absorbing small outposts that had been too remote to evacuate. The sensor beacons fell silent one by one as they were consumed. It's following the exact path we predicted, Ryan said, heading straight for Titan. On the 6th day, the Devourer reached Saturn's orbit. As expected, it moved toward Titan, attracted by the energy signatures of the automated colony systems. All ships prepare for engagement, Eric announced, his voice calm despite the pounding of his heart. Remember your training. The quantum disruptors must be fired in synchronized waves to be effective. The bridge of the Liberty hummed with tension as officers checked weapon systems and shields. Amanda stood at a specialized console, monitoring the quantum disruptor control systems. Disruptors at full charge, she reported. Ready on your command. Eric took a deep breath. All ships execute Battle Plan Alpha. Engage. Across the solar system, Earth's fleet emerged from hiding. 200 ships appeared from behind Saturn's rings. Another 100 rose from the shadow of Jupiter. 50 more appeared from behind Mars. They converged on the Devourer from multiple angles, catching it in a three-dimensional trap. The first wave fired their quantum disruptors simultaneously. Blue energy pulses struck the Devourer's outer layer. The effect was immediate. Sections of the massive entity began to shake and break apart as their neural connections failed. It's working, Ryan exclaimed, but the victory was short-lived. The damaged sections of the Devourer quickly reformed, adapting to the disruptor frequency. It's learning, Amanda said urgently, switching to frequency pattern beta. The second wave of disruptors fired, again causing sections to break apart. This time, the Devourer responded with force. Thousands of smaller units broke away from the main mass and swarmed toward the human ships. Evasive maneuvers, Eric ordered. All ships maintain distance and continue disruptor fire. Too late, a dozen Earth vessels were overwhelmed by the smaller units. The crew watched in horror as the ships were enveloped and began to dissolve, their materials being absorbed into the Devourer. We've lost Delta Squadron, reported Sophia Diaz from the communication station. And the Devourer is adapting to frequency pattern beta. Switch to pattern gamma, Amanda ordered, her fingers flying over her console. We need to keep changing frequencies before it can adapt. The battle raged for hours. Earth's fleet fought bravely, but for every section of the Devourer they managed to break apart, more ships were lost. The Liberty shook as enemy units crashed against its shields. Shields at 40%, an officer reported. We can't take much more of this. Eric knew they were losing. The Devourer was simply too vast, too adaptable. Even with the quantum disruptors, they couldn't damage it fast enough to prevent it from repairing itself. All ships, fall back to Mars defensive line, he ordered reluctantly. We need to regroup. As the fleet retreated, the Devourer consumed Titan completely, growing even larger. It then turned toward the inner solar system, toward Earth. Back at Mars, the remaining ships assembled. They had lost nearly half their fleet. The crews were exhausted, and many ships had damaged systems. In the Liberty's conference room, Eric met with his command team. The quantum disruptors work, but not fast enough, he said. The Devourer adapts to each frequency pattern after a few minutes. Amanda nodded, her face tired, but determined. I'm working on a solution. A disruptor that cycles through frequencies, automatically. But it will take time to modify all our weapons. Time we don't have, Ryan pointed out. At its current speed, the Devourer will reach Earth in less than 2 weeks. Gabriel Martinez, who had joined the fleet as a technical advisor, spoke up. There's something else we learned from the Confederation ship. The Devourer isn't just a mindless swarm. It has a central neural node that coordinates the entire entity. A brain? Eric asked. Something like that, Gabriel confirmed. If we could target that node specifically, we might be able to collapse the entire hive mind. Where is this node? Amanda asked. Gabriel displayed a holographic model. Based on the Confederation data, it's located here, at the very center of the main mass, protected by the densest concentration of defensive units. So we'd have to fight our way through the entire thing to reach it, Ryan said grimly. Impossible. Eric studied the model, his mind racing. Not if we don't try to fight through it. He looked up at his team. What if we went straight through? A single ship modified for stealth, carrying a powerful enough quantum disruptor to destroy the node? A suicide mission, Sophia said quietly. Maybe, Eric admitted. But if it works, we save Earth. They spent the next 3 days preparing. The Liberty's engineers worked around the clock to modify a stealth ship, reinforcing its hull and installing a specially designed quantum disruptor that cycled through all known effective frequencies. The weapon was enhanced with nuclear material, making it powerful enough to destroy the central node. Meanwhile, the Devourer continued its approach toward Earth. Panic spread among the population as images of the massive entity were broadcast worldwide. President Martinez addressed the people daily, urging calm and reminding them of humanity's strength when united. On the eve of the mission, Eric stood in the Liberty's observation deck, looking toward the distant blue dot of Earth. Amanda joined him, her hand finding his in the darkness. I've volunteered for the mission team, she said. Eric turned to her in surprise. Amanda, no, it's too dangerous. The disruptor will need adjustments during the approach, she explained. I'm the only one who fully understands how it works. Eric wanted to argue but knew she was right. I'll be leading the mission personally, he told her. I know, she replied. That's why I have to go too. They stood in silence, watching their home planet shine in the distance. Tomorrow they would fly into the heart of the monster that threatened everything they knew. Neither spoke of the slim chances of return. Behind them, the door opened. Ryan Foster and several other officers entered. The ship is ready, Admiral, Ryan reported. We launch at 0600. Eric nodded. Get some rest, all of you. Tomorrow we make our stand. When the galaxy ran, only humans stayed and fought. Part 5. The stealth ship Defiance was small and dark, designed to absorb rather than reflect sensor signals. Its special hull contained materials stolen from Confederation technology, making it nearly invisible to detection. As it prepared to launch from the Liberty, Admiral Eric Powell looked at his volunteer crew. 6 brave souls who had agreed to fly into the heart of the Devourer. Dr. Amanda Walsh checked the enhanced quantum disruptor one last time. Lieutenant Ryan Foster sat at the pilot's controls. Communications specialist Sophia Diaz monitored the enemy's movements. 2 engineers, Craig Miller and Allison Patel, would keep the ship's systems running during the dangerous journey. And Eric himself would command the mission. Final systems check, Eric ordered as they strapped into their seats. Engines ready, Ryan reported. Disruptor at full charge, Amanda added. Stealth systems active, Sophia confirmed. Eric took a deep breath. Liberty, this is Defiance. We are go for launch. Defiance, this is Liberty, came Gabriel Martinez's voice over the comm. You are clear to launch. Good hunting and come back if you can. The small ship detached from the Liberty and moved silently away from the Mars defense line. Ahead of them, the Devourer filled the view screen, a massive shifting cloud of biomechanical units approaching Earth. The main fleet would engage it again soon, buying time for the Defiance to reach its target. Stealth systems functioning at 100%, Sophia reported. No sign that it has detected us. They watched as Earth's remaining ships moved to intercept the Devourer. Weapons fire erupted across space as the battle began anew. The distraction worked. The Devourer's outer units swarmed toward the attacking fleet, opening a narrow path toward its center. There's our window, Eric said. Full speed, straight through. Ryan guided the ship forward, his hand steady on the controls. They passed through the outer edge of the Devourer, holding their breath as enemy units moved past them, just meters from their hull. They don't see us, Amanda whispered. The deeper they flew into the Devourer, the stranger their surroundings became. The space between the biomechanical units was filled with a glowing mist, the remnants of consumed worlds and civilizations. Through the haze, they could see structures that resembled buildings, vehicles, and even ships, all being broken down and reformed into more Devourer units. My God, Sophia gasped. It's not just destroying civilizations, it's recycling them. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. An alarm blared through the cabin. We've been hit, Craig reported from the engineering station. Something is attaching to the hull. On the external cameras, they saw smaller Devourer units clinging to the ship's surface, probing for a way inside. They've detected us, Ryan said, increasing speed. We need to move faster. The stealth system is failing, Allison warned. Hull temperature rising. More units converged on their position. The ship bucked and shook as Ryan tried evasive maneuvers in the increasingly dense environment. We're still 20 kilometers from the central node, Amanda said, checking her instruments. We won't make it at this rate. Eric made a quick decision. Prepare for emergency separation. We'll split the ship. The Defiance had been designed with this possibility in mind. The rear section contained the engines and life support, while the forward section held the command center and the quantum disruptor. What are you thinking? Amanda asked. The rear section will draw them off, Eric explained. Full engine power heading away from our target. The front section will continue on minimal power toward the node. Craig moved to the separation controls. The front section won't have life support for more than 30 minutes. That's all we need, Eric said firmly. Prepare for separation on my mark. The crew quickly reconfigured systems. Allison moved to join Craig in the rear section. They would pilot it away, sacrificing themselves to give the others a chance. It's been an honor, Allison said simply before the doors sealed. Separation in 3, 2, 1, Mark, Eric ordered. The ship split in two. The rear section immediately fired its engines at full power, drawing most of the pursuing Devourer units away. The front section, with Eric, Amanda, Ryan, and Sophia aboard, continued on minimal power toward the center. As they approached the core, the density of Devourer units increased. Through gaps in the swarm, they caught glimpses of something different. At the center, a pulsing crystalline structure. That must be the neural node, Amanda said. Their air was growing thin. Warning lights flashed as the ship's remaining systems began to fail. Still, Ryan guided them closer, avoiding the larger concentrations of enemy units. 5 kilometers, he reported. 4, 3. A massive impact rocked the ship. Emergency lights flashed red. Hull breach, Sophia cried. We're losing atmosphere. Keep going, Eric ordered. Ryan pushed the failing ship forward. 2 kilometers. From the target, another hit shattered part of the command center. Sophia was thrown from her station, a piece of metal embedded in her chest. She died instantly. Almost there, Ryan gasped as the oxygen levels dropped. 1 kilometer. The final approach was a blur of warnings and alarms. The ship tumbled out of control, its navigation systems dead. Through the viewscreen they could see the neural node clearly now. A massive crystalline structure pulsing with energy, surrounded by a swirling cloud of protective units. "We're not going to make it," Ryan said, fighting to keep conscious as the air thinned. "Yes, we are," Eric replied. He turned to Amanda. "Can you modify the disruptor to detonate remotely?" She nodded weakly, her fingers already working on the controls. "Done. But someone needs to get it closer." Eric unstrapped from his seat. "I'll take it." Amanda caught his arm. "The suit won't protect you from direct exposure. It's suicide." "I know," he said quietly. "But someone has to do it." Before she could argue, the ship shuddered again. Part of the hull tore away, exposing them to the vacuum of space. Emergency force fields activated, but they wouldn't last long. Ryan was unconscious now, slumped over the controls. Amanda fought to stay awake as she handed Eric the disruptor. He sealed his helmet and moved toward the breach. "Eric," she began. "I know," he replied simply. Then he stepped through the force field into open space. Using his suit thrusters, Eric pushed away from the ship toward the neural node. The disruptor felt heavy in his hands. Around him, devourer units began to converge on his position. He ignored them, focused only on reaching his target. As he neared the crystalline structure, something unexpected happened. The node pulsed with a different pattern, and the attacking units pulled back. A voice seemed to form in his mind, not in words but in concepts and images. The devourer was trying to communicate. In that moment, Eric understood what they were facing. Not a mindless destroyer, but a twisted intelligence that believed it was preserving life by consuming and incorporating it. In its warped perception, it was saving civilizations from the chaos of individual existence. "No," Eric said, though no one could hear him. "Life is meant to be free." He activated the disruptor and hurled it directly at the center of the node. As it left his hands, he felt a moment of peace. He had done what he came to do. The last thing Eric saw was a brilliant flash of blue-white light as the enhanced quantum disruptor detonated. The neural node shattered, its pieces flying outward in a beautiful, deadly display. A chain reaction began, spreading outward through the devourer's mass. Back on the broken ship, Amanda Walsh watched through the breach as the man she had come to love disappeared in the explosion. Then, as the light faded, she saw something remarkable. Throughout the devourer's massive body, units were shutting down, drifting apart as their controlling intelligence died. Her last thought before losing consciousness was of Earth, safe in the distance. They had done it. Humanity had stood its ground. 3 days later, President Martinez stood before the United Nations. Behind her was a screen showing the solar system, now littered with the inactive remains of the devourer. "We have lost many brave souls," she said, her voice strong despite her grief. "But because of their sacrifice, billions live. Humanity did what the Confederation thought impossible. We stood and fought when the galaxy ran. In Earth orbit, the Confederation ships returned, drawn by the unexpected victory. They found not ruins but a planet intact, its people wounded but unbowed. As humanity began to rebuild, they discovered something unexpected in the devourer's remains: the technology and knowledge of hundreds of consumed civilizations. With this legacy, they would build a new future among the stars, and on a memorial built where Admiral Powell's family home once stood, a simple inscription read, "When the galaxy ran, humanity stood its ground."